Well, here we are in Vegas. Excited about the season, and our coach did a great job, as always, representing the program and talking about where things are headed for us. So, really looking forward to a great year. Open up the questions.
Josh, obviously, there's a lot of chatter and talk about Illinois football right now. Obviously, you got to back it up on the field. What's the value of that for a program and athletic department?
It's huge, obviously, to be in a conversation that we haven't been in for a long time now. It speaks volumes about the progress that we've made and about all the work that has gone into moving us to this point. And it's humbling. It gives you a moment to reflect. We had a dinner last night. I told the group we were with it was different than the dinner I'd ever been a part of. We had donors, we had players, we had coaches, we had alumni, we had different people who have been connected to our program in a lot of different ways. And to get where we are now has just required such intense effort from so many different stakeholders. And I think that's ultimately one of the most, I think, rewarding parts of what we've been able to do thus far.
Josh, what are the conversations like with Brett about just further investment in the program, specifically with people? I count 17 people that are beyond the normal 10 assistants, 8 of which are in their first year this year. Just the conversations you have with Brett about adding more people to the Smith Center and what value that brings to the program.
Well, he and I are in constant conversation about how to improve the program, how to continue to move the needle forward. That's just an ongoing discussion that we have, and so there's no sort of set time when we sit down and say, okay, today we're going to talk about this or that. But we're always trying to monitor what's happening around us, think about new needs within the program. Obviously, things have changed a lot here just in the last month around what college football is going to look like going forward, and so we want to make sure that we're staffed appropriately, that we have the human capital pointed in the right direction to allocate and make sure we're capitalizing on the opportunities that are in front of us. So there's no moment, there's no exact science to it, but it's just continuing to look at all facets of our football program and making sure that we're investing appropriately to move the needle forward.
At this event, is there an opportunity to meet with and talk with the other 17 athletic directors from the conference, and what are those conversations like?
Sure. One thing about being part of the Big Ten is we're together a lot as a group of athletic directors. We have actually weekly calls at this point. We're together in person probably 6 or 8 times a year. We do have a couple new faces in the group, people that we've met now digitally but not in person, and so this week will be the first chance we've had to be around them in the flesh for the first time. But we have a lot to talk about. Obviously, we've been undertaking a pretty intense project here over the last year, and even though July 1st is now behind us, we still have a lot of work to do, and as Tony talked about in his remarks, our time frame got condensed from when the settlement was approved until when the effective date came, and so it's very much an ongoing work, and there's a lot of discussion that still needs to happen around where things are headed.
So it's been 3 weeks or so. How's settled in? What are you seeing right now? What are you guys experiencing right now as it becomes reality?
Yeah, it's I think been relatively smooth for us at the beginning. We've been able to get a lot of our athletes under contract. We've started those payments now. I think July 15th was our first pay date, if you will, and so we had a lot of money that moved out into the pockets of our athletes as a kind of a seminal moment, and had the chance to sit down and sign revenue share agreements and think about what this kind of moment is in the history of college athletics, and certainly at the University of Illinois. And so I think these first few weeks have been pretty smooth. We've had a lot of conversations with our student athletes. We've had a lot of conversations with the representatives. We've talked internally with our staff, just trying to get everybody coalesced around where we're headed and armed with needed information about how these things will work. And then, as we've shown, I think we're going to continue to evolve and change and adapt. We know that what we're doing right now is probably going to be very different than what we're doing even 6 months from now, and so we'll be prepared to be flexible as needed.
I mean, there've already been challenges to the CSC just in terms of the role of collectives? I don't know, that's probably not unexpected, but just where do you sort of see that standing now, and like could that change at all? I mean, sort of from the base agreement that everyone did agree to?
I talked about this a little bit during the media roundtable a couple weeks ago. I think the system will be tested. I think that's to be expected. I don't think the fact that it's tested suggests that there's a problem with it. I think it'll continue to grow and evolve. We'll refine it, we'll polish it. Some of those changes will come through internal conversation. Some of those changes may come from outside pressures or outside influence. But we shouldn't expect it to be perfect when we come out of the box. We should just expect it to be a really nice starting point, and then we'll continue to adapt and modify it in the months and years ahead. And again, that guidance on how to modify it will come from a lot of different directions. And I think that's just part of the process that we should expect as we implement something that's so comprehensive and so broad and so different than anything we've done before.
It's no secret you guys are going to have to generate more revenue, and you have a $20 million expenditure that will continue to grow each and every year. How do you do that? What do you leverage at the University of Illinois to ensure that you can grow it that way? And what role may private equity play, whether it's at the league level or at the individual level?
Every athletic program in the country at this point is looking very critically at their operation and trying to identify new and different ways that they can generate revenue. And Illinois is no different than that, trying to evaluate our operation and see where there might be some underutilized assets, where there might be some new opportunities created through technology, through some of the new rights that we're acquiring from our student athletes as part of the revenue share process. And it'll be an ongoing process. We're probably going to try some things. Some of them hopefully will work. If some things don't, then we'll be prepared to pivot away from them. And I do think that evaluating opportunities for outside capital, whether it's at the institutional level, the conference level, again, everybody's having those conversations. I don't know if any of them will ultimately come to fruition and come across the finish line. But we're at a point now where the business of college athletics is growing. It's becoming much more sophisticated than it's ever been before. And so we'd be negligent if we weren't evaluating some new and different approaches to the things that we've done historically.
Josh, I know we're a long way from here to possibly there. When we talk about, say, a 16-team playoff field, how many conversations are you guys having with the players themselves about longer seasons and the protections they may want in all of this?
We haven't progressed yet to a point where we're getting a lot of feedback from the players, and the players obviously want the chance to participate in the postseason. That's the thing they want more than anything. And so as we evaluate what that postseason experience looks like, we all understand that a bigger field is going to create more opportunity for the young men who participate in our programs to play in that postseason. We have to be mindful again of how many games it involves, but you also now have the offset of the fact that most of these athletes are earning significant amounts of money to participate in our programs, and so there's a give and take here where we might be raising some expectations and some demands for our student athletes in terms of their time, their commitment. But we think that's justified given some of the changes that are happening across the landscape.
Illinois has had some successful seasons over the years, but sustained success has been elusive. Why is it different under Brett Beal?
Well, I think it's just something that he and I have focused on from our very first conversation. The very first time he and I spoke, we talked about that being the objective. Illinois had an interesting history. We've had moments where we've been to the top of the mountain. We've won Big Ten championships. We've played in Rose Bowls. What's made us a little bit different is we haven't always capitalized on those moments of success and made them springboards to even greater success. And so we've done a lot of due diligence and thought about why those moments have happened, where we've had sort of these fairly precipitous drops following moments of success. And I think he and I understand, again, what the objective is. We've been really focused on building this in the right way with a solid foundation that hopefully allows us to just stay on a really solid trajectory on the upward path that we've been on. And a lot of it comes back to his leadership. I mean, he's just such an exceptional leader. He's a great voice for this program. He has a strong vision for where he wants Illinois football to go. And because of the way he works, the reputation he has, I just have great confidence about where we're headed.
Josh, he's clearly not afraid to use his voice. He's been doing this a while. What do you think about that? What's that do for you guys when you have a coach who's as willing to be as outspoken on certain topics as he is?
It just continues to help raise the profile of our program. And I think we're at a moment now where we welcome that. We want some of that attention. We want people to pay attention to what Illinois football is and has become. And he's obviously a very recognizable figure in college athletics and college football specifically. He generates a lot of interest in ways that perhaps coaches with a lower profile wouldn't. And because of where we are now, again, maybe at different moments that's not a spotlight that we would welcome, but at this point, and with where we are and where we'd like to go, I think that's a needed next step for Illinois football. And so for him to bring some notoriety and some attention to what we're doing is a really positive thing.
Josh, a couple answers ago, you referenced potentially asking more of players. Would that have something to do with like opt-outs, needing to play in bowls versus opting out?
It could. It could. Yeah, I think that again, it's just a different environment now than what we've had in the past, and I think it's fair to expect some give and take, given what is now being put in front of them financially. And I'm not expecting us. We're not going to go to a 25-game season. I'm not talking about changing dramatically what those expectations are, but ultimately, does that put us in a position to really encourage them to play in postseason? I think it could. I think that'd be a positive step.
And so sort of connected to that, just as you look into the future, do you have any concern that as the playoff becomes more established and people become more used to the playoff, that players might start opting out of the playoff bowl games? Because they really haven't done that to a significant degree yet.
I hope not. I think everybody always has to make their own decisions about what they think is in the best interest of their future opportunity. I worry a little bit that in recent years, the opt-out of the bowl game has become more of a status symbol than a necessity for some players, where they worry about it's not always just the prospective first-round draft picks who are opting out of these games at this point. And, I think that's something that I hope we can address. I think it's better for college football. And ultimately, I think it's better for our players to play. Those bowl games provide an unbelievable platform for them to play against high-level competition, to receive national attention for their performance. I think those are games that scouts want to see them playing. It gives them a chance to get film against great competition. But we'll see. Like everything else, the world's changing quickly, and so we'll see what some of the downstream effects are of some of these changes.
Josh,
You
you've been
mentioned signing some of those rev share agreements, and did you reflect on kind of where things were? Like, what have been the reactions in some of the athletes as you go through that process together? Like, what are their thoughts of it?
They're excited. I mean, it's something that we've tried to communicate about with them for some time now. Things have been building toward this for a year, and so now to be at least this first marker in our journey together is meaningful. I think they recognize it for what it is, and it's exciting for them. I think they recognize that they're in the first wave of student athletes to ever have this opportunity, and of course, when the dollars first hit their checking accounts, those are pretty exciting moments for them too. And so it's been a good experience for them, and I think a really collaborative one for us with them.
Josh, you've mentioned repeatedly the leadership of Tony and what that's meant to the league and to every school. He addressed a little bit about the Michigan situation a couple of years ago. There was a perception, rightly or wrongly, that certain schools in the Big Ten didn't think all of the rules applied to them, and there was concern there. Looking back, do you think that was adequately handled by the league office and Tony? And do you still have concerns that there are schools that feel like league rules can be challenged and don't apply to all of us?
Look, that was a long time ago. I don't have a lot to say on the the Michigan situation at this point. What I will say is I have incredible confidence in Tony Petitti, and I've got great confidence in the Big Ten Conference, the way that they have continued to build and provide us leadership and guidance as we've moved into this new environment, not just around things like the revenue share and the playoff, but around discipline and around misconduct. I mean, those are all things that we look to a conference office to help provide support and direction. And Tony's been fantastic. He's built a great staff around him, and have all the confidence in the world that they're going to lead us in the right way.
Josh, is the 16 play